Who are you? I'm Anna. And then what? What do you say after that? Your job description? Your favorite color? The place you hold in your family? I'm child number 2. Or do you give the personality test results from that teen magazine you borrowed from your niece once when you were bored? That question, who are you? It sounds simple until someone actually asks it. Because most of us don't answer it spontaneously, really. We answer it strategically. We look to present the version of ourselves we think will work best in that moment. I remember being at a friend's house for dinner once. Big table, lots of people I never met before. I was seated next to a very handsome Italian man. During the starter, the very handsome Italian man suddenly turned toward me and said, "So, Anna, tell me about yourself." Now, first of all, this did not come at the best time for me because at that exact moment, I was already very busy debating with myself over what to do with a bit of chicken bone I had in my mouth. Spit it into my hand discreetly or swallow it and hope for the best. So, not ideal timing. But I also noticed something. I wasn't even sure how to answer him. It wasn't that I had nothing to say, quite the opposite. I could have answered that 20 different ways and none of them would have been a lie. But my brain wasn't searching for the most truthful answer. It was searching for the most useful one. Which version of me would create the best impression in this particular moment? Which answer would make me seem intelligent, interesting, cultured, deep? Which version of me was the handsome Italian man most likely to like? We hear this advice constantly. Just be yourself. Just. As if that's a very simple thing to do. As if we all know who that is. But most of us don't. When it comes to knowing who we really are, I find that most of us fall into one of 5 categories. First category is those of us who never pondered the question. Second category is those who think they know who they are. Third category is those whose certainty about themselves is becoming a bit shaky. Fourth category, those actively searching for the answer. And then fifth category, maybe a few who truly know. And very often there is a progression from one category to the next in the course of our lives. Like many people, I sat in the first category for my whole childhood and teens. During those years, most of us don't stop to even consider the subject of our own identity beyond our names. It's simply not a thing. We let other people tell us who we are, either directly through their words, "You're so dumb," or indirectly through behavior. For example, you're always given the task of reminding your father to take his medicine, so you become the responsible one. Then we move into the second category. The labels other people chose for us stick so well that we've absorbed them as truth. And based on that, we think we know who we are. We've always been told we're the funny one, or the rebel, or the sensible one. And eventually, we stop hearing those things as casual observations by other people, and instead we take them on as our true identity. Then, if we're lucky, we have an identity crisis. Or not necessarily something as brutal as that, but something happens which disrupts that certainty about who we are. We're entering the third category. Maybe it's a book we read which stirs something in us. Maybe we come across someone who sees something in us we hadn't considered before. Or maybe it's life simply backing us into a corner where the old identity stops working. Whatever it is, we suddenly realize that we don't know ourselves nearly as well as we thought. We realize that if we remove all the labels that other people have placed on us over the years, we don't quite know who's left underneath all that. And so we start searching. Fourth category. We walk through slightly fragile territory for a while. We no longer fully trust the people around us to define us for us. We experiment. Sometimes we shock our families and friends by behaving in ways that seem completely unlike us. This is so not you. We don't care. The freedom of rebellion, delicious. We swallow it whole. And then at some point, maybe I've gone slightly insane. So we question that too. We go too far one way, then too far the other way. We're confused. And many of us can remain there for years, experimenting as we keep searching. And the funny thing is, life is not against us in this. Life actually keeps throwing clues at us. You know the game hot and cold? Warm, warm, warmer, cold, warm, warm, hot, hot, boiling. Repression and freedom don't have the same temperature. If you pay attention, you can easily tell when you're not being true to yourself. There's usually some kind of discomfort involved. Sometimes it's subtle emotional discomfort, as simple as this doesn't feel right. Other times, it's actual physical discomfort, the lingering pain in your belly, or unexplained fatigue, or even a sudden nauseous feeling. Life keeps telling you warm, warm, cold, warm, warm, warmer. Listen. If you're now here standing in a fourth category watching this video, here are 3 suggestions that can help you in your search, that can help you reacquaint yourself with yourself, the original you. The first one is looking at your childhood instincts. When you were very young, before image management became a full-time job for you, you naturally gravitated towards certain things. Even children who had difficult childhoods, they usually had moments where they instinctively moved toward what made them feel alive. Maybe you loved dismantling things to figure out how they worked. Maybe you were always the one resolving fights between Ken and Barbie. Maybe you loved sitting quietly by the pond collecting rocks while all the other kids were busy setting things on fire. Maybe you loved spending time with animals. Maybe you loved making people laugh. Maybe you loved drawing. Those early inclinations matter more than people realize. Children can absolutely be influenced by the people around them, of course. But there's often something spontaneous in the way very young children engage with life before social performance becomes deeply established. Attention tends to move naturally toward what resonates with temperament. So it can be surprisingly revealing to ask yourself, what did I love before I became overly concerned with how I was perceived? The second suggestion I can offer you is noticing which parts of yourself you happily express even when there's no apparent reward attached to it. For example, do you genuinely enjoy helping other people fulfill their dreams even if they never thank you for it afterwards? Would you willingly care for someone with Alzheimer's disease who forgets who you are every 5 minutes? Would you keep sculpting wood even if no one was there to appreciate your art? The real you often appears most clearly in moments where approval, performance, reward stop dominating your behavior. And when I say reward, I could also be talking about monetary reward. A long time ago, a friend asked me once, if money wasn't an issue, would you still do the work you do? That's a great question to ask yourself. Actually, you could ask yourself, if money wasn't a thing, what would I choose to do with my time? The answer doesn't have to be impressive. It just needs to be true for you. And also, when you answer that, think long term. Because answers like, oh, I would drink beer on the beach all day, all night, every day, every night. Or, oh, I would sleep. Or even, well, I would do nothing at all. Yes. Really? For weeks? Months? Years? Think long term. What would you choose to do with your time? The third thing I can suggest to you is paying attention to what consistently makes you lose track of time. Psychologists sometimes call this flow state. Moments where you become so absorbed in something that you stop monitoring yourself and the rest of the world. Time feels different there. It kind of becomes irrelevant. When you repeatedly lose track of time while you're playing music, building something, caring for your dog, uplifting someone who feels down, that's valuable information. You know, those things for which you seem to have a limitless amount of energy. When something consistently makes you feel more present, there's usually something psychologically true there. Who are you in those moments? See? Spending time in the fourth category, the searching phase, can be great. Maybe that's why I'm still well inside it at 47 years old. And yeah, I'm not even going to talk about the fifth category here, the one where you know. First of all, because I haven't been in it myself, so my words here would only be speculation. And also, I think part of me doesn't want the search to end. Part of me doesn't want certainty. Because it feels like it would mean the end of the journey. And I don't want to get off the train yet. Do you?